Right, so we've got Cam Mackay. He actually did get let in by security.
Eventually.
They took a bit of a bad liking to me yesterday. Like, you would have thought that they'd be quite calm about it with what you pay for one of these bloody villas. But we've got him in eventually, security or not. So, Cam, I'm trying to think, how long have we worked together now?
God, it's over 6 months now.
Yeah, it's going on 6 months, and he's starting this kind of into the first month of kind of the full team and stuff now. And I'll openly say this, and I'm not a kiss arse in any way, shape or form, but Cam's probably one of the most impressive clients that I've worked with in terms of kind of when we put something in place, it's not a case of standing around waiting for it to happen. It's like, look, right, you need to do this with your business. We need to make these kind of moves. We need to make these type of investments, and you've just not really fucked about with it at any point, really. No, and it's just a case of like when I always remember the first conversation that me and Cam had, because Cam basically said like, oh yeah, I'm pretty much losing 50 clients but gaining 50 clients a month.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and I was just shocked by it. I was like, what the fuck is going off there? So when we kind of worked in with Cam, it was like he fell into the trap of like doing things in a very, very heavy sales sense, and what he was doing was probably, it's not the wrong thing to do. It's just a case of he didn't have the full framework, content strategy, and kind of meaning behind what he was doing. So Cam was like heavily using VAs, which is absolutely fine, but there was no kind of personality to it. It was just like cut and paste, outsource type kind of stuff. And I've spoken about in previous podcasts today, like outreach is really, really important, but you can do it to a total dead audience if you've not got everything kind of behind. So. Mm-hmm. Do you want to just do a bit of a roundup from kind of your perspective, where you are now compared to where you were kind of 6 months ago?
I think looking back to 6 months ago, what I had in place was like very generic. It was like you could probably have just Googled a lot of what I was doing, and it was just that's what I'd been told to do. So I was just obviously being fed the wrong information at the time. And then when obviously I came to you and when we broke it down a little bit more, it was a lot more about making it more personal to me and about me and like my story and what I think and my opinions and stuff like that then transpired over into obviously people buying into me as an individual. And I think over the last 6 months, that's what I've seen more than anything, is people buy into me and the brand and the culture of it all, as opposed to just being hammered with salesy kind of content and salesy messages and things like that, which, like you said, I guess it's not the wrong thing to do if you're in that niche or if you're doing something in that space. But for me, and the way I coach and like the results I get and the relationship I have with clients, it wasn't transpiring into long-term stuff, which is obviously what I wanted.
Yeah, it's like when we first started, I literally banned him from sales. I literally,
yeah.
I'm not even joking. Like, imagine someone saying that to you. But I just turned around and I said, I could not give a shit about you making any sales for the next 8 weeks. I said, because what we're going to do is all the clients that you're going to have now, we're going to reconnect with them. We're going to reconnect with kind of socials. Like Cam had obviously with his social media, and I even noticed because I've obviously known Cam quite a few years anyway, and I was like, your socials have not even moved, and it's a case of like, right, how can we get buy-in from his audience again and engagement from his kind of clients, so it's going to reduce obviously people dropping off, but also kind of get that next phase kind of growth coming through. And it was so unorthodox, because I said to Cam, I said like, man, I need to just come in and just be honest with everyone. I just went just like say like, look, because Cam's obviously a very, very kind of successful person, a very, very kind of high performance mindset, but even at that level of performance in business, you can still get to a point where you're stuck. Like there's a point where like you're thinking, right, why am I actually doing what I'm doing right now? And in that first 8 to 12 weeks, there was nothing really fancy in any way, shape or form. But I was like, look, if we improve your client management, if we include the value that you can't get into your clients, you're not only going to retain better, but it's also going to lead to a point where you can be coming in and selling at 250 plus kind of online coaching, which you obviously weren't doing at that time. And if he showed enough value over an extended period of time, then obviously that's when he could come in and do his like a blanket price increase. But you can't come in and just smash the door as hard as you can expecting things to change. Like there needs to be timings, there needs to be kind of strategy. And it's like when you've got a client like Cam and Hannah, like it's not fucking difficult. I know it sounds daft, but like I have to work with some people where I'm like, shit, like this has been quite difficult. Where with you guys, it's never been the case of that. And it's like with the first phase, it's obviously got into a very, very, very good spot, and obviously released that kind of the mentoring. But the next thing, what we're kind of doing with Cam and what I've said to him, I said like, look, if you're not careful right now, you're going to be the same guy who came to me stressed as fuck because you overworked yourself. So it's just like the next kind of move for us is obviously kind of building out kind of the referral side to the team and looking at other avenues onto that side. But how because you obviously held off doing this. What's your opinion and what's your thoughts on kind of where the company's going now?
I think if you'd have asked me that 3 months ago, I'd have been very still in the mindset of, it's just going to be me with loads of clients, like that's it. Whereas now, because of how you've structured it and how everything's been built out, it's like I feel like I can confidently say, going into next year, we'll have a team of coaches who can coach at the quality that I coach at, which is going to lead to being able to help more people, being able to like not oversaturate. Like I would have just become oversaturated as a coach in terms of clients and not been able to give the correct level of service, whereas now I believe that we'll be able to build a team of coaches who can all coach at that level because of the education we'll put in place for them. And at the same time, none of them will be overworked or stressed in any way, so every client will get like a top quality service.
Yeah, it's expanding out a coaching team and referral side takes so much trust, like, because it's like when it's exactly the same with me with the consultancy side. I got up to managing 40 odd companies on my own, and Cam's seen it. I absolutely levered myself.
I've seen him on calls with his wonky glasses on.
Yeah, I've got to a point where I've like not even been able to see straight or speak. Like, and it's obviously it's meant because it means that you've obviously got clients coming in and you retain them and stuff like that. But there's no amount of money what can put that like kind of feeling of that being that much stress and that much pressure. And it's like so for me right now, I'm in the exact same spot as Cam right now, just in a different sector. Like I've expanded the coaching team. So like when I've expanded the coaching team out, I've actually reduced my profit margins quite a lot. Like it's just surprising a lot. But it means that now the clients that are on board, they're going to get a 7 times better service, 7 times faster. And also it means that I can probably work with 7 times more people because I'm not the person who's going to be getting hammered all the time. And that's like what I said to Cam is I said, like, look, mate, in reality, with kind of the customer journey we're putting together, the email marketing, Cam's got fucking thousands of emails and stuff already anyway. I said, like, if you do not have the right type of referral in place, you are going to get your arse handed to you, and it can go south very, very quickly because you're never going to turn clients down.
No.
Right?
Well, you don't want to anyway.
No. So I mean, so you're never going to turn clients down. And like, so for example, when you're like, Cam could easily move his numbers up to working with 250 people if he wanted to, but what's the point in that? You have got you are earning a stupid amount of money, but you've got no life with it.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere to go from that. And it's like, when I kind of moved into going, right, so what do I want to do with kind of the coach consultant? I was like, right, we're already working with incredibly kind of high performance people. I said, but our bag is, right, I know that in terms of you can be pushing sales and lead generation and everything else onto that side. I said, but that's only just one small kind of fraction of it. And what people do with like the mentoring and consultants is it's just like, they come in, it's like, right, yeah, we're just going to get more sales, more leads, more stuff like that. Yeah, and it's a case of what we're trying to focus on now is like how can we actually build out kind of company structure for people to be able to scale, because at the end of the day, like what I've kind of realized over time is like, look, you can earn shitloads of money on your own, but where do you go from there?
Yeah. And I don't think people understand that until like they're at the cusp of it.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, because you just think you can keep going. But then when you're actually at the cusp of like, you've got no life, you've got no time, you've got nothing going on, but you still want to keep growing it and you have absolutely no clue which direction to go in. Because that was me. I didn't know what the next step was until I came to you.
Yeah, and it's just about having that. It's about having that framework. It's almost like when it's like I said, when you work with high performance people, like they are that busy in their job that it's actually quite difficult for them to think forwards.
Yeah.
Like, so for example, like with me, I got to the point 3 months ago where I was like, Jesus Christ, I can't even focus on my own business because I'm that busy working on other people's businesses. And it's like when you're a high performance coach and stuff like that, you've got to think like, for example, like with Ben Bray's a lot, like we focus more solely on kind of his referral drive than anything else now.
Yeah.
Because that's better for him and it's better for kind of the company and stuff onto that side. But it's just a case of having the right kind of strategy, because for example, when you're looking to kind of hire a coach, you can't, and this is one thing I like to proper like, I must have had the same conversation with Cam so many times. I was like,
yeah, I already know what he's going to say.
Yeah, we can't just, with the coach who comes in has to reflect you.
Yeah.
And that's really, really difficult, like, because at the end of the day, like, Cam's a big character, big personality, big physique. But I said, like, the moment that you don't have that kind of direct referral over with the look, the energy, and as obviously the coaching skill level, then you get a breakdown very, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So, in terms of like with the mentoring side as well. So where you fit, where are your thoughts with that? Because Cam basically come to me and said like, look, I want to kind of do a bit of mentoring. Very, very similar to me in all fairness. Like I'm maxed out. I've literally maxed myself out with coaching, and I got to the point where I was like, I need something else to kind of challenge me. But what would you say? What would you say that you enjoy more? Help the mentoring side, which you kind of moved into slightly, or online coaching?
I'd say the mentoring side of things is nice because it takes me back to when I was growing my own business from like the ground up from the start, which is really nice. But I think it's recently, especially with the stuff I've been doing with you and understanding how we can expand the coaching business, I prefer that side of things now. I prefer the thought of the company structure and growing it all and being able to do, like, me helping my clients the way I do, having 3 or 4 other people doing the same thing for the same amount of people. Like, that's like an absolute army of unbelievable coaches and unbelievable results. So for me, I think that's what I prefer. But with the mentoring at the minute, it's so nice being taken back to when I was initially growing my business and being put back in those shoes and the struggles and the like speed bumps that they're running into and being able to help them with them. Yep. That's such a nice thing to be able to do, because that's like that was the fun part when you first grow in the business. And you're like 10 clients, 20 clients, like those little milestones are huge when you're first starting out. So it's like seeing them be so buzzing about them little milestones and stuff like that is like quite a nostalgic feeling.
Yeah, that's one thing that's one thing I love about kind of the consultancy side, is like some of my biggest personal mistakes in business is what makes me make good decisions for everyone else now.
100%, yeah. And I'm noticing that now because of the mentoring.
Yeah.
But it's the same with coaching. Like sometimes you think to yourself, like, clients come to you in positions as a coach, and a mistake I've made in the past with nutrition or training or whatever, it's like I stop them from making that. It's doing the same in consultancy or mentoring or whatever it is. Yeah,
it's about putting that framework in place. It's like, one thing I was going to kind of ask with you is like, before me and Cam started working together, like he made a comment to me and he was just said like, I actually don't know some of my clients. Like, and I was just like, look, that does happen. And it's a case of like, as the company gets bigger and bigger and bigger, like there's gonna, especially when you've got coaches and stuff down the line, but it's been clear to see like Cam's comments on his post, people tagging him in stories, like the amount of energy like kind of coming back. So what do you think were the biggest kind of change that you put back into your client base? So not taking on new clients, what did you do to kind of improve that kind of retention and buy-in from the guys that you had?
I started actually blocking out time to go and speak to clients. I genuinely do. People will say that. When people say that to me, I'm like, nah, you don't. But I genuinely started doing that because of what you said to me, because you were like, that's not on. Like, that shouldn't happen. And I was like, right, if he's saying that to me, then I should do something about it. So I actually, but that's only then was when I started getting all the comments on the post, people tagging me and stuff, the stories. And then when I started reposting those stories and the culture became very obvious, that started bringing people in. So I want to be a part of that. Like, people replying to me posting clients on my story and stuff and being like, oh, he looks good, how's he done that, how's she done that? And that all came from me putting a much bigger focus on my actual current clients in the first place. Yeah,
it's internal energy drive, I like to call it. So there's certain points. So say, for example, when it comes to December, that's when I'll always kind of focus on kind of awareness and buying and say, like, look, the best thing that you can do in December and stuff like that is give your clients as much fucking attention as possible.
Yeah.
Get them together, do some stuff with socials, because when it comes to you just sending out a diet and training program to someone versus them kind of being in a community and they feel like they're getting supported and stuff onto that side, like that's the stuff what will scale a business, because those 200 or odd people, they've all got mates, all got followers, and it's a case of going like, look, there's always going to be tactics in terms of outreach. You've got email marketing, you've got different pipelines, you've got even paid media once you've built your framework, you've got VAs, you've got stuff like that. And that is 100% necessary to kind of come in. But there's absolutely fuck all point trying to smash outreach when you've currently got loads of holes in your pipe now and your clients are just getting lost out of it. Because I was just like, when I said to Cam, I said, mate, your problem in sales and lead generation. I said, you need to fucking be a good coach again, mate.
Yeah. And I learned that the hard way as well. Yeah. I learned that the hard way because shit went south, and that's when I came to you with it. And it was like, it's almost the answer that you know is the right answer, we just don't expect it. Yeah. Well, I didn't expect that to be the answer to sort it all.
No, it's, like I said, this is why we have a framework to consultancy and stuff like that. But this is why, like, when I do a company overview, even now, for example, with a 7-man team, I will kind of come in and make the decisions based on just from my experience. I've done this a long time, and I've worked with like a lot of people. And it's like with Cam right now and Hannah, for example, because they've got the good reputation back, because they've got the good client numbers, because they've got stuff like that. This is where we can get fancy. Because Cam were like, "What can I do next now?" And I said, "Mate, you've barely even fucking started yet."
Yeah.
So you can. I said, so when I kind of presented, I went, right, we can do this, and this, and this is where you're like, shit. And this is kind of what we're only really moving into now, like with the company sides. Like, look, we want to automate from A to B, a coaching company which can scale to any point.
Yeah.
But until you can't come in and focus on kind of the customer journeys and the pipelines and stuff like that, while the people in the business are kind of being the issue. And it's like right now, like obviously, like Hannah and Cam, they've both kind of got that buy-in again and stuff now. But it's also a case of like, look, this is why when you start to hire out a team, it is so important. Have you found a coach yet?
No.
God's sake.
But it is hard because, like I said, it's got to be so specific, mate. It's hard. It is hard, and that's one thing I struggle with as well. But I know you're pushing me to make the right decisions with it, which is what I need.
Yeah, because you can't.
I'm finding it hard because I want it to be so perfect as well. I think that's one of my biggest problems. I want it to be so perfect. You
get to the point like, look, like I've experienced it this year. Like our company's like scaled at a point this year where it was actually dangerous. It was dangerous because I was like, look, it's incredible because you're looking at like we hit 15 times revenue last week in 10 months, which is just fucking unseen. Yeah, but at the same time, I was like, I had to basically almost panic to think because I was planning on bringing this team together and adding more people in, but I've had to hire 12 staff in 15 weeks, something like that, something stupid to max it up to that. It's gone from like me and 6 of us to 17, 18 now, and it's a case of like. If Cam comes in now and switches on marketing hard and we bring this real full content strategy and everything together, like it will get to the point where it's like all these clients are coming in, there's nowhere for them to fucking go. Yeah. Or for example, they have got somewhere to go. So like I was on the brink of pushing it too far before I had the team where I was like, if I take on any more from where I am right now, my quality of service is going to go to shit. Yeah. And if my quality of service goes to shit, and then those people who were once really happy with me and now unhappy, it kind of goes south there. So it's like, I always call it layering. Like I always say to these guys, like, look, you've got growth strategies, and as part of the layering effect, where you're looking at kind of phasing it all out, you've got to preempt that kind of next phase growth. Yeah, it's a case of what would you say that is the most apprehensive part of hiring a kind of coach direct for your referrals at the moment? Because there'll be a lot of coaches who are going through the same.
The things I worry about the most with it is if they're not up to. Number one, if they're not up to the standard of where people want to come into the business, and it's like, oh, but I want you, not them. Because then that's like a crossroads that you just can't cross. And it's like, oh, I've got to go and find someone else. But number two would be if it is and looks like the right person from the outside, but then the quality of the coaching isn't right. Like they don't give as much time as I give. They don't give as much detail as I give, as much internal energy as I give. That would be, and I know that's like, you can teach that, you can sort that and stuff like that, but I would never want that to be an initial kind of, the first thing that a client receives is the wrong thing.
Yeah, God. Right, so something as well, like, so me and Cam had enough, we have some Reyt conversations, to be fair, but when I Cam got on a call and he's obviously been dieting and stuff like that, and it's a case of, I was like, Cam's obviously, how it worked with his social media is like, nobody had bought into him. He went through like, I must have been about probably 3 different phases of kind of him, his journey, the company, the business, and Cam's basically at that point where it's the clickbait point. It's one of them ones where like his rate of growth on socials is mad, his buying is great, his actual content that he's doing all around there is like absolutely kind of fantastic. But what he was pretty much doing as well is obviously we're thinking about kind of coming into pushing towards like elite body composition, maybe doing like a bodybuilding show, and he turned around, but I can't remember what you come onto the call, didn't you? I can't remember what he said to me. He was like, oh,
when I it off.
Yeah.
I think that's what I said, wasn't it?
And he turned around and he was just like, you're like, shall I do this comp? And I said like, it's a really like, it's one of them ones like bodybuilding and stuff like that. Yes, it will dramatically improve kind of your engagement, your awareness and stuff like that because you're sticking your physique on Instagram. Yeah, but it's also one of them ones where you can really, really get distracted from your business. And I said to Cam, I was like, look, I'm not being funny, mate. I said, but the rate of kind of progression that you are experiencing right now with business, imagine even more pressure with more leads, less energy, and being more stressed. And and Cam obviously kind of came in and just kind of made, in my opinion, made the right decision to say, like, look, he can stay in incredible shape all the time without kind of having to come in and push it that little bit too far.
Yeah. The biggest thing you said to me was like, what's more important to you? Like, what do you care about the most? Because, like, if you carry on with this, it's going to take away from your business. But if you wanted to go full frontal on that, that's just not an option. You can't do it both at the same time with what we were putting in place, like all this, the company structure and stuff. And I was like, well, I'm not saying bodybuilding wasn't important to me, but this and the growth of the business and my clients and everything, that is my focus and the biggest thing that matters to me.
Cam's in an unreal sweet spot as well. Like, for example, we were moving towards, like, Cam. He obviously does work with physique development clients and stuff like that, but that can kind of come towards, like, the more bodybuilding focus. And what's kind of happened recently is it's like Cam's realised, like, look, I want to work with the guys who are wanting to get into the best shape of their life. And, like, there's a point between someone prepping for a photo shoot and someone prepping for a bodybuilding competition.
Definitely.
And it's like, when you look like Cam, it's really, really fucking easy to trip yourself up and start going, right, yeah, I'm going to start working with bodybuilders. But I had the same conversation with someone else this morning, and I said, like, look, if you've got, for example, 20 elite physique kind of clients come in, and then you've got 5 bodybuilding clients, like, the amount of kind of time and effort and energy that you have to put into bodybuilding clients compared to those guys. And it's not because, like, you don't enjoy doing them, but you've got to really, really think about every part of efficiency with scaling your business.
That's what it is. It's not even the lack of enjoyment with it. It's efficiency. It's how many results could you churn out of 20 photo shoot clients versus, like you say, 5 bodybuilding clients. It becomes what's going to drive my motive forward the most, which was the business, which was, getting to the point where we can scale to a team of coaches. And it's like these elite level results that offer photo shoots, holidays, just generally people wanting to get in sick shape for maybe no reason, don't matter, does it? But they were like the driving force, if you get me.
Yeah, you've got to, I'm absolutely obsessed. I'm obsessed with kind of who I work with, and it's a case of you've got to really pinpoint, like, right, who is it that you enjoy working with them most? Who is it that you enjoy working with the best in the relationship from them? Like, Cam knows I'm absolutely savage when it comes to kind of people I work with. Like, I remember,
fucking hell, I've had some conversations.
Yeah, I remember the day after my wedding, and I'd basically got triple messaged by quite a few people I'd recently taken on, and I just literally cancelled 6 people in one. So like, I remember they was looking at the side, listening, like, where's all them people gone? I was like, I'm just not. He said, because that type of energy is not something that I can work with, and I do it quite a lot. I like, especially when it comes to, even when I've always done this, whether it's been clients, whether it's been whatever. Like, you've got to turn around and kind of know when the relationship has come to an end, because I will work with some clients. I had one client last week who was on kind of a bit of a lower tier, and I said, I don't really want to be coming onto a call and telling you the same stuff. I said, I'd rather you spend that money, invest it into your business to then come in on a bigger investment point down the line. Yeah. But in the short term for me is that I'm actually having a financial loss from that. But the long term is that client understands that I've had the respect for them to say, like, look, you're not in the position where I can do enough. Or, like, for example, one of the pet hates that I just despise, I don't like group coaching models. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with group coaching models, but I just don't think it's personal enough. That's why we've basically built the 7-man team, because in 2 years' time, there's going to be 3 me's, there's going to be 3 Hannahs, there's going to be things, and and I'll train people exactly onto that side. And it's the same with kind of the mentoring. Is like, there's absolutely nothing worse than coming onto a call and just talking about the same shit over and over and over again. Yeah. And it's okay, and like, that's one thing that I'll just never kind of do with clients. Like, look, there either needs to be something to work on, or there's nothing. It's
the same with coaching, isn't it? Like, if you had clients, the check-ins is just the same thing every week. Nothing's going anywhere. The internal needle's not moving. Results aren't happening. It's like, how valuable is this client to you other than that short-term monetary value? It's not doing anything to push the business in the right direction.
No, 100%. Like, your energy and your environment is absolutely kind of paramount. Like, this is why I again, Cam knows more than anyone. Like, I have got absolutely no emotional attachment to finance.
That's so true.
I just don't see it. I don't care what I earn. I don't care and stuff onto that side. Like, I care about kind of my job, and I care about kind of my clients. And if, for example, I'm working with a client and it's not benefiting me either emotionally, whatever on that side, or, for example, like, if I don't feel challenged, then it's not a relationship that I kind of want to come in and maintain. And it's the same with anyone with a coaching business or anything on a client base. Like, look, are you actually working with these people because you want to work with them, or are you working with them just because they're adding an extra 250 quid onto your account each month? And you can, if you don't really solidify that in terms of like, look, these are your values, this is what you believe as a coach, this is what you stand by, then the backbone to what you're actually doing is going to be pretty fucked straight away. And that's like, and I'm absolutely obsessed with that, because it's that type of stuff where if you've got a community of, let's just say 250 lads, and all those lads are similar, and they've got very similar interests, very similar goals, and stuff like that company is going to fucking blow up. I was
just about to say that people outside can see it.
Yeah.
Like when you're a jack of all trades, when it comes to coaching, you'll coach anyone and everyone, and you're not like sort of not niching down, but like you say, there's no direct culture to the people that you work with. It's so obvious, because like nothing's the same that you're reposting or posting and stuff like that. Like there's no continuity to it, and people can see that a mile away. Whereas now, like all my lads, they're all very similar goals, similar mindsets, do similar things outside the gym and stuff like that. And it's like, weirdly enough, I now get only people like that inquiring for my coaching.
Yeah.
And they just add to the culture that's already built.
Yeah, it's like Cam's a walking example of, and I say this all the time. It's the exact same in terms of like how can you relate to these people? Like for example, Cam is a walking proof of what he's basically saying to clients. Like, look, don't get me wrong, he's not a hardcore raver or goes out partying or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, but like he does have a little bit of a life. He does have kind of a little bit of social balance, but. That's how unique this kind of direction is now, because Cam's not saying that he works with lifestyle clients. Cam's not saying that he's working with prep clients. He's saying like, look, I don't need to bodybuild and I can still fucking look like this and I can do the same for you.
Yeah.
And that's like, because that's just the main strength behind kind of even for example, now it's like obviously team conditioned. It's the whole concept of the company and the look and the ethos and stuff of it is incredible. But one thing I want to ask, I've not actually asked him on this. So obviously you pretty much, well, you don't work with Hannah, but you work under the kind of the same company. Obviously I do the States. Like, how do you find that?
It's good. I think it's good because it's the nicest thing is when you grow, like we're working with you and we're growing the business and it's growing the way it is and you're growing it with your partner. It's like this is cool. Like to be able to do this with your partner, like that kind of like power couple ethos is quite a nice thing to think about. But obviously you've got to really try not to let it get involved in your life as well. Like I think sometimes we're very bad for just working. Yeah. And we'll work for 12 hours a day, 5 days straight, and be like, shit, we haven't sat down together on the sofa and just chilled as a couple for like 5 days.
Yeah, you can.
And you can just, especially when we've got like lists of shit to do and we're doing all this and we're both fucking buzzing to do it all. It's like, wow, just relax for a second. Like we are still normal people as well.
Yeah, like Hannah's not been able to make it today, but just kind of anyone who listens to this, like Hannah's basically like Hannah. Well, obviously she's like literally the girl version of Cam, but in her kind of niche. Like the potential that kind of Hannah has with kind of her own kind of female client base is spectacular. Like just because of how she conducts herself on social media, how she works with people. Like the only thing what's missing from Hannah is just that absolute utter confidence in herself.
100%.
And the moment that she does that,
and we drilled this into her from day one, haven't we?
Mate, she's without question, I would say one of the best coaches and best potentials with like female coaching that I've seen. It's just like just kind of getting that little kind of thing, which it's something what will kind of come with time. But yeah, it's just like when you are kind of doing it together, because obviously like me and Stacey, we fucking run everything together. Like we basically got to the point where I was like, I banned Stacey from speaking to me about business. I said, if it's before work and I'm having a coffee, don't be speaking to me about it. If it's after 8 o'clock at night, don't be speaking to me about it. So we now have like a weekly meeting once per week. On like she's upstairs and I'm downstairs, and we're just doing it on Google Meet. Because it means that so I refuse to ban it because I end up killing her if it gets to the end of the day and she's like, oh, I'm
still going, yeah.
I'm like, fuck that. But where would you say, if you're going to kind of look at where you are now, like what would you say that your biggest kind of goals are with professional, but with personal stuff as well in kind of the next 12 months?
Professionally, I want a team of coaches who can coach at the quality that me and Hannah coach at and help just. If we take on 5 more coaches, we help 5 times as many people. that's for me is just the way that I want it to go. I want the culture of the business to stay the same and everything. Personally, I think not that I want to buy more time back, but I want to be able to have more time and not be go in my head all the time in that time. Because it is like sort of just me and her running the ship at the minute, we're like, yeah, we're just going to chill and have a bit of time. And it's like, but I can feel myself in the back of my head going, right, I've got this to do tomorrow, never do this, and that when. And it's just like, fucking hell, I wish I could just actually sit down, throw my phone over there and watch shite on Netflix for an hour without being sat there thinking, I've just missed 15 minutes of that because I was writing this fucking list in the back of my head.
Yeah, there's a point with business. Literally 100%. There's a point with business where you get to a point of that much kind of income that it actually becomes not fun.
Yeah, I can fully see that now. You can't see it when you're not nowhere near, but as you creep closer and closer, you're like, fucking hell, like that jump there wasn't worth it for how much stress it's just added to my life.
Yeah, 100%. It's especially, I think that when it comes to coaching and mentoring and stuff like that as well, it's even harder because it's not like you're going out and selling, like, for example, we're not selling cans. You're literally working on a one-to-one level with people, and it's like, this is why I've said to Cam, like, and something I do with a lot of companies is like, look, how can we create a better kind of management platform by like using Discord where people can start looking at managing each other? How can you start looking at resources to try and reduce like the amount of kind of one-to-one time that you need to give to people? Because yes, you need to be giving people effort, but also at the same time, you need to understand that you can't scale a coaching company if you're having everything and all the energy taken from you. And it's like, and for example, like clients when especially when you start coming into more higher ticket online coaching, higher ticket business consultancy, like there needs to be a barrier because like if you're giving a good and high enough quality of service, then you're always gonna need to go that little bit of extra mile. But like you need to have kind of clear barriers with people, because when you start scaling and you're working with hundreds and hundreds of people, that's a lot of different personality traits onto it. And you're going to you basically, when you start scaling to that point as well, like you're going to have loads of different kinds of pressures. Like I say to people all the time, like I'm obsessed with setting the tone.
Yeah.
Like the first call I have with someone, it's like, look, say for example, like someone like pushes my kind of own personal space or something like that. I'll just directly tell them and I'll just turn around and go like, look, you're not speaking to me like that. You're not behaving like that. And it's not a case of you being disrespectful to clients. It's about maintaining that relationship, because there are also points where, say for example, I'm on the other end of the spectrum, because people come in and pay us quite a lot of money. Like I've often been at a point where I'm over delivering and I'm pushing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's a case of on the other end of the spectrum, like clients can be like, fucking hell, like it's good, but it's intense. Yeah. And it's a case of that's something that I've had to do because I can come in and work at a very, very, very fast rate, and it's normally faster than kind of most of my clients. And it's a case of now it's like I'm coming in and pressuring, but that's also me kind of going against their kind of barriers. And you've got
to find a happy medium, haven't you?
Yeah.
So with coaching, it's like I'm not saying you can over deliver, but you can definitely like overwhelm a client, and that could be far too much for them. Like you've got to think about who you're working with, and if you've got 700 different questions for them to answer every day on this little tracker thing, and they're like, fucking hell, I'm going on holiday in 12 weeks, like I don't need this. Yep. You know what I mean? And that overwhelming feeling, you've kind of got to step in to your own like sort of boundaries then and be like, right, this person doesn't need this and this. I can still help them get this and this without all of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is exactly why it is so important to have to not only have your niche client, but be your niche client. Because if you be your niche client, you know what you do and don't like.
Yeah.
And then you can basically replicate that across every single person. Like once you've got that solidified kind of group and growth, it is literally a case of just rinse, repeat. It's like I used to do it all the time over the I've coached in pro sport, bodybuilder. I did everything as a coach. I was 100% a jack of all trades coach. I never, I built up coaching companies to 25, 30 grand a month. And I was just like, and I'd stopped and then started up again in different cities. But I always used to work with loads of different consumer groups. And it's a case of, I knew that my kind of biggest downfall towards the back end of my career before I ever kind of got into the mentoring side was the fact that kind of I had such a wide range of kind of clients. For me, my niche client was the fact that I pretty much got to a point where all I was doing is coaching coaches.
Yeah.
And I was like, these guys are obviously coming to me for a reason.
Because they wanted what you had at the time. They were looking at you thinking, oh, I want that.
Yeah, and it's just a case of kind of coming to that side. So What would you say? Because we did this with your kind of mentor. What would you say that the biggest top 3 biggest mistakes that you've ever made in kind of in business in the fitness industry?
Top 3 biggest mistakes. Number 1, charging too little, 100%, because you can run yourself into a hole there where you keep pushing and developing your service because you see everyone else developing all this, all these different like resources and stuff like that, but then you're still charging so little that you're doing far too much for what you're charging. Yeah. And if you ever wanted to increase your price, what value can you add? Like, you can't actually add anything to it. So you can double your price and be like, yeah, well, what am I getting for it? And it's like, well, nothing, because you've already got everything. It's like, yeah, well, I was paying that for it anyway. So it's like, you got to understand that you're probably worth a lot more than you think you are. I definitely was at the time, and I know that now. Number 2 is probably trying to be a jack of all trades and just coach anyone and everyone. Because when I was like started reviewing, it was 50 in, 50 out kind of thing. It was just like completely unmanageable. So it might not get to that stage for everyone, but when it was at that stage, that was the most stressed I've ever been. Setting 50 people up and trying to have the conversation of 50 people leaving within 1 month. That 1 month was like, I swear to God, I must have aged like fucking 8 years in that 1 month. It was horrific. So it's only ever been since. I feel like I love coaching more now than I ever have in the last 6 months because of the fact that I just coach people like me. Like I could sit and have a chat like this with every single one of my clients now because they're just fucking lads. Yeah. Just get on with it, but also want results.
Yeah, it's job satisfaction and scaling. It all comes under kind of one bracket, and it's like where Cam is now. Like the main thing we're basically doing is it's what we're in all fairness. Like one thing I said on the podcast earlier, I said like if I was going to start any of my companies again, I would be doing what I do with clients now myself. Yeah. And it's a case of like, I know that when I've come into this and as I've learned more and more and more, it'll be the same again in 2 years. Like there's so much work what needs to be done in the back end before, but it's like what we're kind of trying to do now with our clients is going like, look, this is your company, this is what it's like, this is the content strategy, these are the systems, this is the pipeline, and then we solidify that kind of process out. But one thing I'll say is like you're never really going to be in that position because people will come to us having problems because they've already kind of started. But then it's not a case of like, look, when someone comes into the fitness industry, they're not going to be coming in and throwing a few grand at a consultant. No. So every client who comes to us will be the same. It's a case of us going, right, we're going to fix those problems and get those procedures in place, because like what we're going to be doing now is like having the total customer kind of journey build. We're going to be like linking in kind of keyword search, content strategies for Instagram for both SEO, email marketing. And this is where, like, for example, like with Cam, look, you got like 800 results or something daft.
1,000 now.
Yeah, he's just, I'm talking like, when he sent me this Google Drive, I was like, what even is that? Like, do you know what I mean?
It took me fucking ages to fill that as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of kind of client results. And it's like where they are now is every company kind of wants to get to a point where you've drove out as much organic kind of growth as humanly possible. And where we can go from this is, say, for example, it comes to next year and we've solidified this pipeline, like we could be in a position to start switching on some paid media. And once you kind of like 100%, if you do paid media properly, like with the right type of people, you can dramatically increase the lead generation. Yeah. But I see people kind of coming in and boosting social media posts and driving stuff out when the company's not ready to handle it, and it means that they lose a hell of a lot of kind of leads. And that's where, for example, where Cam and Hannah are now in like team condition, like you going into 2023, they will be in a position where they can lever this and it will not stop scaling. Because it's all kind of that strong and solidified. Yeah,
and I'm now anyway confident in the service and the culture enough to like be like, yeah, all right, like, we can do that. Whereas like in the past, I wouldn't have been confident enough to do that because of like the way the service was, the way the resources were, the way the culture within the business was. It's like I was like, I'd rather just keep going with the organic stuff and stuff like that. But it's just like I know now that as long as they fit within the culture which we would market through anyway. If they fit that kind of mold and they come into the business, the service is perfect, the culture is perfect, the resources are perfect, we can get a result, like hands down.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, it's it all comes down to investment. Like one thing, me and Cam are very similar. Like I'm not got any emotional attachments to money. I'm a weirdo, but Cam's like, look, if I'm going to invest into myself, I'll invest into myself. And he's said that since day one. It's never. Well, Cam knows that I don't chase sales. Like I couldn't care less. If you want to sign up, or you sign up. That's it. Simple as that. But it's like what we've basically tried to do now with the consultancy is add in that much value that, like, say for example, when someone's paying X amount per month, if you were going to basically do that externally by hiring individual people, it would cost about probably, I'd go as far as saying 4 times more than what our consultancy fee charges. So if you look at like George and Hannah and the copywriter and graphic design and all this other stuff, like those numbers really, really start to.
And I've looked into the price of some of this shit as well, and it's like,
it's
for one of the channels alone would be like a similar price to the consultancy.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. But this is what I kind of want to create with this model. Like the team has been selected so specifically because it pieces together all the stuff that I kind of want to do, and also the caliber in which they kind of come in and do stuff. But it's like when people join with consultancy now, it's like I really want to kind of show people that, look, if you want to scale a company, you need to have company structure, you need to have company management, and like one day it will 100%. Look, when you get a company down the line and you're doing 150, 200 grand a month, then like you're coming in and like you need a Hannah, you need an Amy, you need a George, and you need that for yourself. But it's just like right now we're confident that, look, like with this retainer, what we do with the strategy that we have, like you guys have been madness, mate.
Yeah, I think with me as well, it's one of them where I wish I'd have looked into this kind of thing sooner. Obviously, you might not have been doing this any sooner, but like if you were doing this 6 months, a year before, that's when I wish I'd have got in touch, because I was, like you said, just sat at that level of what the fuck am I supposed to do next for so long. I was waking up thinking, right, I'm going to do all my check-ins today, but what else am I going to do? Yeah. Like, and I didn't have any time to do anything else anyway, because I was so bombarded with shit.
Yeah, you do it as and when the company's ready. It's like for example, could I have hired a team like I've got now 6 months ago? No. I didn't have the capital to invest into wages like that. And it's the same with anyone, with any company. Like, look, you can look at your ideal, and I always say this, like, look, in an ideal, you want this, and this, but in reality, you might not be able to afford it, or the company's not in a position to do so. So as long as you've got kind of the right guidance, the right approach, and the right strategy moving forward, then all you do is you come in and invest into that next step, because it's like people get so like attached onto kind of financial investments, and they get so like stressed out with it. But I'm like, I literally, everything I get now, I just go, more staff, more stuff onto that side. It's like we've literally just completed the OSL platform, and I've just gone, right, we're going to stick another 10 grand into improving it. Yeah. And that's what you literally kind of have to have this mindset, like, especially when if you're coming in at around kind of the figures, what like kind of Cam and some of the guys are like. If you want to be turning that into kind of 7-figure focus and stuff like that down the line, then you need to have a 7-figure strategy. Yeah, and that's kind of why we actually got a 7-man team. So it all kind of integrates into
Makes
it.
Makes sense, yeah.
But I'll round that up with Cam there. But like I said, is like probably, I'd go say, one of the most impressive people that I've worked with. It's obviously great to have you out here and have a chat.
I appreciate that, mate.
Yeah. All right, signing out.